Hello everybody, it's Nina. Thank you so much for joining me today for a new tutorial, and I'm very excited to be bringing you some envelope inspiration. In the new Hey Bestie release from Simon Says Stamp, there are 3 new envelope dies. And the unique thing about these dies is that they're able to create beautiful custom envelopes in just a few easy steps. I'm going to show you not only how to just build the basic envelope on its own, but I'm also going to show you how you can take those envelopes and step them up a notch to create a see-through window into the card that you're going to have in the envelope itself. And I think this is such a great way to not only dress up the envelope, but to give a peek at what's inside for the recipient. Alright, so first let's start talking about how to build these envelopes in their most basic form. Now we're going to talk first about the V-flap envelopes, and this is the same whether you've got the 4-bar or the A2. I'm going to cut my cardstock down to the size of each die, just that way it's a little bit easier to work with. Once you have all of your cardstock cut down and ready to cut, we're going to go ahead and run all of these pieces through the die cut machine. Now make sure to remember that when you're cutting out the V-flap envelopes, there is only one side flap. You're going to need to cut that side flap twice from cardstock. So make sure you cut that out twice so you have 2 side flaps, the little small triangles there on the left. When you cut these dies out, they already have score lines for you. So all you need to do is fold on those score lines and reinforce those folds with your bone folder. And just like that, we've already got the envelope halfway done. The main body of the envelope has the top and the bottom flaps of the envelope shape. Next, we need to work on the side flaps. These are what's going to end up holding our envelope all together. These 2 have very small score lines on them, and you're going to want to go ahead and fold those down and reinforce them with your bone folder. These are very small, so you're going to want to make sure you're careful as you fold so that you don't end up ripping your paper or cardstock. And when you're creating your envelopes, remember that you can use cardstock, pattern paper, or whatever material that you want to create these. Next, we need to work on assembling. So taking some 1/8 inch score tape, this is my favorite way to assemble the envelopes, I'm going to add this adhesive to the side flap that we just folded over. See where I've added this on the smallest area left of the score line? This is what's going to adhere down onto the main body, and that's going to create the side flap. Next, we're going to do the same thing to the other side flap. This is going to go on the other side of the envelope. Now, my favorite way to adhere these down is to butt up one of the edges to the top or bottom flap. These side flaps are perfectly sized to fit between the bottom and top flaps, and that way you're going to make sure that you have this perfectly centered. I'll do the same thing to the other side flap, and then with a little bit more of that 1/8 inch score tape, I'll add that to the bottom of the 2 side flaps, and then I'll remove the adhesive backing to fold the bottom flap on top of the side flaps. This is effectively finishing off our envelope and closing everything in so that way we can fit our card in nicely. And that's how easy it is to create these envelopes. And the nice thing is we've got 2 different sizes, both a 4-bar and an A2 V-flap envelopes. So your traditional envelope in 2 of your most used sizes. Now let's talk about the other type of envelope that we have in the Hey Bestie release. And this is another 4-bar envelope. However, this is a square flap envelope. So we're going to cut this now from some cardstock. I'm going to cut not only the main body, but also the 2 side flaps. This one does have 2 side flaps because of the way that it gets adhered together. So we'll cut all of these out. I'm using soft navy cardstock. And this time, I'm going to show you how I enhanced this envelope and created a see-through window. Using the Be Kind stamps and die set, I watercolored this pretty leafy sprig, and I cut it out with the coordinating die. Now I need to cut out a window that's going to line up exactly with the card inside. So I've got my 4-bar sized card, and I'm arranging the leaf exactly where I'm going to want it on my card. I'm going to lay this into the middle of the main body of my square flap envelope, and I'm going to lay the die on top of that. Now I can take a small piece of purple tape and adhere this to the die and then stick this to the envelope. This is now holding that die in the exact location that I plan it to be in. Now run this through my die cut machine to create the window. Now make sure you save the little negative pieces when you're doing this. And remember that you could cut this window shape from whatever die cut shape you want. I just wanted to use these Be Kind stamps and dies, so this is what I've chosen for my window. But if you save the little negative pieces, you can adhere that then to the vellum or the acetate that you stick behind this window. And I really think it finishes things off. Now, of course, you don't have to do that, but I really like the more finished off look that it gives. So I'm using vellum for the back side of my window, and I'm going to adhere this down just using some tape runner. I'm making sure to get it on all the teeniest, tiniest little areas of this die so that none of those small, tiny areas lift up off of my envelope and rip. I'll go ahead and lay my vellum on top of that window. This is now, of course, on the back side of our die cut. The front side, you're going to see this vellum peeking through the window. To adhere those little negative pieces that got cut out when I cut this window, I'm going to lay the leaf on top of the window opening, and I'll take some liquid glue to attach those negative pieces to the vellum. This is just going to finish things off. I really like the look this gives. Once my window is fully finished, I can work on assembling this envelope as well. Now, if you don't want to create the window, you could have skipped all of the steps I just showed you and instead fast forward to this exact moment. So to build the envelope itself, we're going to fold over the two flaps, the larger one and the smaller flap, on the main body of the envelope. Once these are folded over and reinforced with the bone folder, I'll work on the side flaps. So the side flaps, of course, have the score lines as well so that we can fold over those flaps to attach to our main body. But you'll notice that one of the side flaps has an extra notch in it. And this extra notch does not have a score line, but it is a spot that you can add your adhesive to, so that way you can fold over and adhere the other side flap to it. Let me show you how. So I'm attaching the side flap that does not have that bump in it to my envelope. And again, I'm just butting it up against one of the flaps that are already on the main body. Then I'll attach the other side flap. This one does have the bump. And on that bump, I'm going to add a strip of adhesive. This adhesive is what's going to be the adhesive that the other side flap is going to fold over into. Easy peasy. Next, I'll take a little bit more adhesive and fold over that very small flap along the bottom of the envelope, and that's of course going to close everything up. And so now we can stick our card inside. So this is also super easy and creates a really cute little envelope. Now, remember, this has a window, so let me show you how this works. Because I lined everything up ahead of time, I can go ahead and slip my card inside and check it out. That leaf that I watercolored now fits inside of that envelope, and when you look at the envelope, when the card is inside, that leaf is peeking through the vellum. And I think that is so cool. And I had so much fun doing that see-through window effect. I even created another card with that same exact technique, and this time I used one of the other leaf sprigs that's in that Be Kind stamp set. Speaking of that stamp set, I used that set and the coordinating dies to create the cards, as well as a thank you sentiment from the new Botanical Heart stamp set, also part of the Hey Bestie release from Simon Says stamp. I hope that today's video has inspired you to not only create with the new Hey Bestie release, but I hope that it's also helped you learn how to use these gorgeous envelope dies that are part of this collection. I think these are going to be so helpful in creating custom envelopes for your cards in a way that takes all of the guesswork out for you. You don't have to measure, you don't have to worry about making sure your paper is exactly the right size. All you need to do is cut some paper down to fit the die, run it through, add a little adhesive, and fold over on the score lines, and you're done. Isn't that easy? Thanks so much for tuning in. I will be back again very soon with more to share. But until next time, I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye!